All right, guys, we are going to learn how to take a sketch and how to make a Gestalt letter design based on a sketch you made. So first off, we're going to open up your scanned sketch, which mine's right here. So I'm going to click open. Okay. All right. And when you open it, you can, of course, in Illustrator, always change the artboard. So I can click on my artboard button here and I can scale it however I want. But the key thing we're going to do first is you're going to take your sketched image. We are going to go to opacity and we are going to lighten it a bit. And then we are going to lock it. And how we lock it is you're going to go to Object, Lock, Selection. So now this is not going to move. Okay. Now, ideally, do this in the same workspace wherever you created your letters. I didn't, but that's fine. And now what you're going to do is choose one of your letters to start with, and you are going to use the pen tool. Pen tool is right here. We're not using the curved pen tool. We're using the regular pen tool. We are going to go to the fill and stroke, and we are going to set it to a black stroke, no fill. So make sure this has a crossed red line through it. And I'm going to start with this hammer shape. I'm doing one for my dad. So these are his initials. And this first letter I'm turning into a hammer. And I wanted to make it look like a hand was kind of like grabbing the hammer. But we're using Gestalt principles, right? So I'm trying to create this with using the white and the black space, the positive and the negative space. So I'm just going to use my pen tool. And I'm going to start to trace out this hammer. And remember, we have our Bezier game. So if you are having a hard time with the pen tool, feel free to take some time to train yourself with that Bezier game. It's just a free online game. You can get it at home. You can get it wherever you want. And so I'm kind of nervous about this hand part. So I'm actually going to not trace it out. I'm just going to go up and make the hammer first, because the hammer, I think, is like a relatively easy shape I can make. Okay. So here I have my hammer, right? Now for the little hands grabbing it, I'm going to just use some other shapes I already have. All right. So I'm just putting shapes on top of shapes right now. I'm going to grab a rounded rectangle tool and I'm going to make kind of like a finger shape there. And I'm going to kind of place it where I have these fingers placed out. And of course, if I hold down Alt or Option, I can click, drag, and make copies of shapes. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to kind of shrink one of these because I want that to be like the smaller finger. I'm going to just kind of adjust these a little bit to be a size I want for now. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just placing the kind of elements over each other, all right? Because what we'll do is we'll use the shape builder tool and the paint bucket tool to isolate them, and that's where you're going to really see the Gestalt stuff happening, okay? So, let's play and see what it looks like now, all right? So I'm going to use my black arrow, and I'm going to drag over and select these hand or finger shapes, my hammer shape. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to my shape builder tool. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option. And when I do that, we'll see a little minus next to the arrow, and that allows me to go and click on lines that I want to delete. Like so. Okay. And what I want, the reason I'm deleting those parts of the fingers is I want the negative space, meaning the outside space of the hammer, to be what the fingers are made up of, okay? Now, you'll notice when you do this, if you zoom in, that your lines aren't actually connected. This little kind of weird corner means that these aren't connected. So if I want to connect them, and the reason I would want to connect them is if I click on the hammer right now, we'll see it's not all joined. They're all separate shapes. So if I go over to the shaper tool, and if I right click on it, I want to find the join tool. So again, I am in Workspace Essentials Classic. So just find a tool that's called the shaper tool right here, right click and go to join tool. Now, if I drag the join tool over areas, it'll automatically connect lines that are close to each other. So I'm going to do that real quick just to make these connect. And what that means is when I switch the stroke and the fill, they will easily just kind of pop into place. Okay. So now I've connected those, and I know they're connected because I no longer see that weird like corner. Now I can click on my black arrow again, my selection tool, grab my hammer, and I could just go over to the fill and stroke, and I can just click the arrow to swap it. And there we see I have the beginning of this Gestalt T initial shape. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to layers, and there's only one layer right now. But if I open up that layer, I can see that we see our image or our sketch that we locked. I'm going to turn that eye off for a second or hide it by hitting the eyeball. And that allows me to just see what I have. And to me, I can make this shape more interesting. I want it to look like a dude's holding a hammer. It's not really looking like that to me yet. So that might mean I use my white arrow and go in and maybe I shorten this finger because I think this finger should be a little shorter. So I'm going to click on some of these anchor points. I'm holding down shift to click on multiple anchor points at once. And then I can click and drag to move them. I kind of want to create, most hammers have like the two kind of prong at the end. So I might use my pen tool and make kind of a second prong. And remember, we are not making line art. What we're doing is we are using shapes, okay? And we're using both the positive and negative shapes to make interesting designs. So I'm going to click plus to add an anchor point over here because I want to kind of make that prong a little thicker. Okay. And something that I think helps in Gestalt is noticing how thick you're allowing the negative space to get. And what I mean by that is, so this little prong, I could easily scooch him in so that they're attached. That's fine. But I could also kind of space it out a little bit to make it interesting. Okay. But if I space it out, this looks okay. If it's too close like that, then it almost looks like I made a mistake. Okay, so just be conscious about how you're spacing things out. Everything we do, we want to do with purpose. I'm going to just kind of adjust some things. I'm looking at my hammer and I actually think I might make the actual impact part of the hammer here a little round because I think that would be a little more fitting of the style. So I'm just clicking on those straight corners and I get the little meatball that allows me to curve them. That's looking pretty cute. Now you can of course look at reference images. So I'm trying to make it look like someone's holding a hammer because my dad, he is a contractor. So hammers are something he uses all the time. So I might have to look up some reference images on kind of what does it look like when someone's holding a hammer. Because the important thing about Gestalt is we're trying to communicate something in as few shapes and as few lines as possible. So I'm going to move these in a little bit. So one thing I'm thinking of, I'm just like sitting right here holding a cup or I'm pretending to hold a hammer and I'm noticing a thumb. We should probably see a thumb right here. Okay. I'm wondering if I add in another shape to be like a thumb shape, if that'll help. So how do we add a shape after we've already kind of merged things and we already have something going, right? Pretty easy. So let's say I'm adding a thumb shape. I'm going to turn this, well, I'm going to leave it as is. It's black right now. I'm going to kind of move this and place it over where I would think a thumb would be. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my black selection arrow, grab everything. And we're actually going to just go ahead and go to your shape builder tool and hold down Alt or Option to click and delete, meaning add these new negative shapes. So there we go, trying to add a thumb. Not super happy with it. I got to do some adjustments. Maybe I try to add kind of parts of a palm right here. So again, a lot of this is going to be experimenting to see what looks best, what sells the idea you're trying to sell. There you go. Ooh, I kind of like that. It's like a little very simplistic palm and little thumb. I think I need to kind of make the thumb a little maybe smaller, a little thick. Let's see if I kind of shrink it. And I can click minus to delete anchor points, of course. Awesome. Okay. So let's turn back on our sketch so we can kind of see. It's looking pretty good. All right. So this is an idea of what you're going to do. Okay. So you need to have each of your initials tell us something about you. So this initial tells people that my dad works in construction, or he does some kind of labor job that involves possibly hammers, or maybe he has a hobby that involves hammers. Okay. So each initial, whatever you design and how you design that, needs to show something. And it still needs to be recognizable as that letter. So this, to me, of any letters in the alphabet, it still looks like a T. And when I create the other few shapes in my dad's kind of like initial Gestalt letter setup, it should read my dad's initials. Okay. So again, we're using the pen tool. We are using our shape builder tool. And then we are using something called the join tool. Okay. Awesome. Good luck with your Gestalt initials. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys the other way to do it, which is using the paint bucket tool. So I'm going to hide this one I made using my shape builder tool. And I'm going to quickly use my pen tool and line this all out again, making kind of my hammer shape. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly so that I don't spend too much time doing something that I've already made. Okay. Awesome. So let me again use a rounded rectangle tool to throw in some finger shapes. And something that you'll see in the slideshow that I didn't realize till after is that, you will know this if you look at stuff on like reference images, but when someone's holding a hammer, their fingers are usually on this side, because if you think about it, if they're holding it like this, and that means the hammer's facing them, which doesn't make sense. So I'm going to move the fingers over here. I didn't do that on my last one, but that is something that I can easily change. I can easily switch that around. But so let's say you get here and you don't want to use a shape builder tool, because that does get some annoying sometimes. And sometimes it's faster just to use your black arrow, grab everything, and grab your live paint bucket tool. Okay. So if I click once, this makes this all now a coloring page. Okay. So I can go ahead and switch my fill and stroke so that I'm just using a black fill, and I can just click and turn black the things I want to be that positive shape. Now I still need to get rid of all those lines, and how I do that is just use my black arrow. And once you click the black arrow, it selects the whole paint bucket item you're working with. I can just go to the stroke, click on it, and I can turn none, which means it'll turn off the stroke. Okay, so that might be a quicker way than using a shape building tool. Now, if you need to add shapes, like let's say I want to add a palm. So I'm going to click on my rounded rectangle and I want to add a shape that's kind of like the palm. I need to add this to the paint bucket system. And to do that, I need to click on my black arrow, grab the new palm and the whole hammer shape. And up here, I'm going to click Merge Live Paint. And that now has included this palm shape in this paint workspace. So I can again grab my live paint bucket. I want to remove this palm. So I'm actually going to turn off my black fill. So I have no fill, no stroke. And I'm going to erase that palm. Okay. Awesome. So those are the two different methods you can use to create your Gestalt initials.